Well, hey, everybody. Good Tuesday evening, and welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Pfeff, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. We're in a brand new year. We've got a brand new show, and certainly excited to tell you all about it. A lot to talk about right now. A lot of bowling going on in the new year, a lot of competitive bowling. Earlier today, Troy Lint won the 2022 PBA 50 Regional Players Invitational. So you get the senior version of some of the best regional bowlers throughout the country. He wins $10,000 for that. PBA Tour champion, I should say, Joe Hutchinson chimed in on Facebook earlier, called Troy one of his best friends. Won the senior RPI today in Las Vegas. He says he just can't get it out of his head and heart that Mike Marcus was watching and watching on his shoulder all the way. Congratulations, Troy, and RIP Mike. So certainly happy for both Hutch and Mr. Lint on a great victory today. The PBA version of the RPI is underway right now. It's just getting going there in Las Vegas. Team USA trials are also going on across town at the Gold Coast. So a lot of bowling there in the Las Vegas area. You may remember on the last show, we mentioned that Dave Davis was having some health problems. He has since passed away. So a lot of prayers to him and his family. Dave Davis, both a USBC Hall of Famer, PBA Hall of Famer, 18 titles, 4 of them majors, and just an absolute legend in our sport. Won back-to-back USBC Senior Masters in 1995 and 1996. Dave Davis was 80 years old. So I mentioned a lot of bowling because we've got some live streamed bowling coming up on the channel starting this weekend with the Chippewa Valley Match Games. If you're not familiar, the Chippewa Valley Match Games is held in Eau Claire, Wisconsin at Wagner's Lanes in Eau Claire. The tournament is Saturday and Sunday, January 7th and 8th. $100 to enter and 2 squads of qualifying. On Saturday, they cut to the top 24 for Sunday's match play. And then there's a 5-person stepladder to determine the champ. And that's where we kind of step in here. I'll be streaming that stepladder final live. So you'll see all 4 matches live on the channel. It starts approximately 2 o'clock Sunday, but it depends on when match play ends. Earlier today, Pat Burkhart, he and his father run this tournament, announced that the shot is going to be the 2019 U.S. Open pattern. So that just released today, and a lot of exciting bowling action coming up this Sunday at the Chippewa Valley Match Games. From there, we go down to Waterloo, Iowa for the 2023 Peacock Classic, the NCAA bowling tournament hosted by Upper Iowa University. That event is at Cadillac XBC Lanes. Valparaiso won the inaugural event earlier this year. And this is going to be a streaming event that'll involve 3 days of coverage. So we will have a live stream pair that we will broadcast really start to finish. Having live bowling action all 3 days, scores and results. Those typically those days start at about 8 in the morning and go till about 3 in the afternoon. The championship Sunday is a little bit shorter, but still a full day of bowling action. And thanks to head coach Nicole DePaul and Upper Iowa University for bringing me back to run it back at the NCAA 2023 Peacock Classic. Can't wait to get into it. It'll be an exciting event That's for sure. Bowling with the Fef is brought to you by Chip Magnet Salsa. Chip Magnet is born and raised, you could say, in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Chip Magnet is a family business. It distributes quality salsa, relishes, and other food products to stores in more than 38 states and Canada. To get your fix, hit that website that's on your screen right now, chipmagnetsalsa.com. They are ready to take your order. Chip Magnet Salsa, raise your snack standards. And a big thank you to Chip Magnet for supporting the channel for yet another year, and surely appreciate their support. Well, our guest tonight, as it happens, is not alone, which is great. He's got some help from some folks that he calls his minions. But it can take a village when you're creating content. You got tournaments and jersey sales and all kinds of other things going on there in suburban Detroit, Michigan. Michael Leavitt is behind the group Yes Ball. You can find Yes Ball on Facebook. The page looks like that. And Yes Ball highlights the achievements of junior bowlers so college coaches can get a peek at potential recruits as well as news and information in the college game. And right now, it is at nearly 7,000 members. Leavitt is from Novi, Michigan, and we are going to bring on not only Michael, but those minions. So let's start bringing them on. We got two different screens full of folks here to on the show. I want to start with Michael, who is in the upper right corner. And Michael, first of all, welcome to Bowling with the Fef, and maybe you can kind of take us through your guests here, the other three that we see there.
I'd be happy to, Fef. First of all, Yes Ball really thanks you for having us on. We appreciate the exposure, so thanks again. All right, well, I'm Mr. Yes Ball, Mike Leavitt. I'm from Novi, Michigan, and I helped start the group. We're on Facebook, like you said. To my right here, is my partner in crime, Ken Cloth Sr. And Ken is also a parent of a collegiate bowler, and he does a great job for us. He does some interviews. He does a lot of sweepers. So Ken puts on sweepers, Yes Ball sweepers, at a couple of houses, one called Plaza Lanes in Plymouth, Michigan. And the other house that we're starting out is Lakeshore Lanes over on the east side in St. Clair, Michigan. And we're starting tomorrow, and I'll let him talk a little bit about that. But he helps run these sport shot sweepers for youth bowlers so they can be acclimated to collegiate bowling. And as we all know, there's a lot of scholarship opportunities for kids out there, and more colleges are bringing bowling on as a sport. So there's great opportunities for kids for bowling, and a lot of parents don't know about that. So we're trying to get a lot of parents in tune with that. In the other video picture, we've got a couple of collegiate bowlers. We have Ken Cloth Jr., also known as the Clapper, because every time he strikes, give us a little clap, Ken. That's a clap. We call him the Clapper. So Ken's currently a collegiate bowler at Madonna University. He's an Eagle Award winner, an All-State high school bowler, and an MJMA champion, just to name a few of his wins and achievements. And to his left there is Brandon Leavitt, a.k.a. Pajama Boy. Everyone across the nation knows him as Pajama Boy because he used to wear pajamas to Youth League. He's also called the villain of Plaza Lanes because nobody likes losing to him there on sweepers. He's also a current collegiate bowler at Madonna University. He's one of Ken's teammates. He's a Michigan State Pepsi champion, an All-State high school bowler, and also an MJMA champion, just to name a few of his achievements. So we're happy that you're having us on, and if you'd like, we could tell you how we started, really.
Yeah, please. In fact, I want to kind of hit you with a quote that I received from a teammate of yours. I messaged a gentleman named Craig DeLugos, who is your teammate in a Friday night league where you guys are on a team that's basically called "If It Stinks, It's Because We're the." He says, I've known Mike for about 7 years as our kids bowled together in Saturday morning youth league at Woodland Lanes. Over the years, I've seen Mike at many youth, high school, and now college tournaments our kids have been at together, and he is one of the biggest advocates to promote youth bowling and youth bowlers. He pretty much single handedly took Yes Ball from a Facebook group that our kids created to share bowling memes and joke around to the best youth bowling group on Facebook. He says it was not cooked up as a business venture that was rolled on Facebook. It just evolved to what it is today. As for developing content, his interviews with kids from all over the country at youth tournaments is his way of helping them get with exposure to get to the next level. He and his son even traveled to Maryland for a youth tournament so that he could meet the kids and coaches from that area and post interviews with them on the site. Mike and I do compare notes on the college competitions and teams. He says his daughter bowls for Lawrence Tech, but those conversations are more as parents and not as Mr. Yes Ball. So obviously he's got a great respect for what you do. He's got kind of skin in the game because he's got a daughter who competes in college. Yeah, how does this all work? I mean, like I said, you bowl on this Friday night league. He's familiar with what you do. I imagine this has kind of gotten around to the bowling community there.
It has. And first off, I'm glad Craig didn't tell you what a great bowler I am. So, but anyway, and Craig's daughter, Carly DeLuga, is a great bowler. She bowls for Lawrence Tech University. She actually started bowling. Actually, my son started bowling with her in youth league. That's how we met the DeLugases. I guess I can have Ken and Brandon tell you how Yes Ball really got its start. So
okay, yeah.
So we first we kind of used to joke around, like if we were to get a strike, we would say, Yes Ball with our Saturday morning team. And at first it was just like a joke that we started, and we would just say it here and there, and now it's developed into much more.
Yeah, and then it eventually started with like a group chat as well on Instagram, and then eventually it moved its way over to Facebook into the group it's known as today.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible that you start off like that. Was there a moment in this where you discover, oh my gosh, this is more than just us. This is like, turning into hundreds and thousands.
Well, so what happened was we started the site right before Junior Gold, and when it happened in Detroit in 2019. And we had maybe 100 kids on the site. And I met all of these people at a bowling alley from Maryland. So I was showing, at Junior Gold, I was showing all these parents the site, and I was interviewing some of their kids, and they thought that was neat. And the next thing I knew, the next week, I had basically the whole East Coast on the site joining, because all these people from Maryland told everybody about us. And I got to tell you, Pfaff, I didn't know this. And me and Brandon went out to Maryland, like Craig said, to bowl a Billy Gasson tournament. I don't know if you know who Billy Gasson is.
I've heard the name.
Youth ambassadors out on the East Coast. He puts on these great tournaments. And I was impressed with all of the bowlers on the East Coast. I never knew that they had such great bowlers. Because when you think of bowling, you think, the Midwest. But oh my goodness, there were some great bowlers out there. But anyway, we got all these people from the East Coast join. And as I went to more and more youth tournaments, I got in people's faces and said, look at this great site. You got to join it. I interviewed their kids. Once I interviewed their kids, that was it. People joined. And I'll tell you, the best thing we ever did was I listened to this guy right here. I had 5 kids on the cover page, for 5 months. There was the same cover page, because I never thought about changing it. So he came up with this great idea. Ken, go ahead.
Well, I said, Mike, you've got all these people that are joining our site. They all want to seem to want to be famous, I guess you could say, and they want their friends to see them out there. I said, let's put a different cover page up every day with a different youth bowler or an activity from a tournament you were at, something different every day, just kind of showcase the individual bowlers on a daily basis, and it evolved from there. And now I think he has so many photos on his phone, he'll never be able to catch up.
I mean, that was huge to put. It's like Sports Illustrated. If you make the cover in Sports Illustrated, that's, you know, something special. Well, we decided to put a kid or a team on there. If they did something special, like win a tournament, a big tournament, we'll put them on the cover. The key was we do it every day. So we change the cover every day. And so the first thing people look at if they're avid bowlers or their kids are bowlers is they go, hey, did my kid make the cover today, this morning? Huge attraction. That was right here. Smartest thing we ever did. I listened to him. Huge.
For once.
So, what we also did is if it's your birthday, we put your picture on there.
Right.
Now, what site is going to put your picture on there to wish you a happy birthday? I haven't seen one. It takes a lot of time, but
yeah, and I don't know how he keeps up with that. I see these different birthdays popping up, and I don't know if he's got a database with all the names and cities and birth dates or how he's doing it, but very organized gentleman right here sitting next to me.
Yeah, I believe it because, you know, I try to wish a happy birthday to all the past guests, and a lot of them are, you know, are on Facebook, so it's easy for me to, oh, it's, you know, it's blah blah blah's birthday, and, you know, pop up their, you know, the link to their show. But some are not on Facebook, and it, you know, you have to kind of hear it secondhand, and you realize maybe they're not so happy it's their birthday, but, you know, you kind of go with it. But I've only done, you know, 109 of these. You've got, you know, 7,000 almost.
Yeah, it's getting to be a monumental task. I might have to reconsider the birthdays. I'd hate to do it because we have so many. We have the same people that wish everybody a happy birthday. They get up in the morning to wish like 30 people a day happy birthday on our site. So, but yeah, it's pretty good though. People love it when they get their picture on when it's their birthday. Yeah. The last thing we did is I always ask people, well, we have a lot of content, you know, is it overwhelming how much content we have? And all the kids say, no, we want the content, you know? And so I think kids, when it comes to technology, they're able to scan things a little quicker these days. Us old folks, you know, it takes us a while. And if we're inundated with too much stuff, it's like, can't absorb it. These kids today are really fast at technology on Facebook, Instagram. So they can really scan through that stuff. And I don't know what the kids' perception of that is, Ken and Brandon, about the content.
Yeah, I love seeing the content, the variety of content also, and just being able to scroll through and just see, you know, here's a team from a different state winning a tournament. Here's maybe a funny bowling picture. I love the variety of content that we have on our site.
Yeah. We got a comment, actually a couple comments here, but the first one I want to talk about is Sam. Her son, another BWTF guest, Trey Henriksmeyer, who's from this area, from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, was the cover back in 2022 when he won Minnesota State. She agrees that's a neat idea. She also posted on Facebook when we started promoting this episode that I'm supposed to ask you about the lively Wisconsin boys from Junior Gold and Teen Masters. I have a feeling that there's kind of a common denominator here, that lively Wisconsin boys may include Trey.
Yeah, Trey and Darth Vader, Robert Vader.
Robert Vader.
Yeah. And his buddies, Munish, I think, and Hunter, and those guys. So they can get a little rowdy at some tournaments, and they got a little rowdy bowling for, I think they're from Wisconsin, I believe, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they were on Team Wisconsin, and they were bowling against Team Michigan, and they got a little rowdy, and I guess Team Michigan took some offense to that. But anyway, and they got a little rowdy at Teen Masters too, but they're great bowlers. They're great kids. They're all bowling in college now. I think Jacob Madison too is part of that group, and they're great bowlers. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you have some great bowlers up in that area, that neck of the woods.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, Sam is a big supporter of not only the channel but junior bowling. You know, in its totality, just like you guys are. Jay Santos says, hi, Fef. Hi, thank you so much for watching live again. He's been on for a few live shows now, which is great. And Drake says, oh no, not Vader, because Vader is his teammate now. So cool to see Drake tuning in live as well. I know that this wasn't a deal where you were kind of responding to, let's call it a pain point, that being not enough exposure for the great junior bowling, both in your area and across the country. But I feel like, with that focus, it's kind of solved that problem, or helped get us closer to solving that problem by highlighting a part of the game that, let's face it, deserves the spotlight and deserves some recognition. I mean, I was a junior back in the 80s and 90s, and it was obviously, there's no internet, there's no chance for this. But do you feel like you're kind of a problem solver in this by doing this kind of thing?
Well, that's a good point. And my opinion of that is, I think this started out with just a simple, small knit group of bowlers that wanted to showcase each other and maybe get the information out to some college coaches on their aspirations. And I think there's a lot of nuances that came to light that we never even thought of, such as what you're mentioning. Just all the little different caveats of, showcasing bowlers' talents and parts of the game that people don't think about. And everybody starts feeding off each other. And I think it's a learning curve for everybody to learn from each other, besides seeing what everybody's accomplishments are. So I think it evolved into something more than we could ever imagine in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's a great point. And when we started it, I think we started it kind of selfishly to try to get our kids, exposed to college coaches out there, because our kids are pretty good bowlers and their friends are good bowlers. We had no intention of, making it a national site. It just happened. So when we got bigger, the kids wanted apparel. They said, "Hey, we want Yes Ball jerseys." I go, "No, man, I got a full-time gig. I can't be doing shirts and jerseys and stuff." So luckily they bugged me for a year. So luckily we got a great local company, Dio Apparel, right here.
Yep, there you go.
They're out of Livonia, Michigan, and they do everything. They do the online store for me, and we take a percentage of what they sell, and we actually put it into junior gold tournaments for kids so they can get scholarships and get qualified for junior gold. Ken over here runs those tournaments, and he runs the sweepers for youth that we discussed. I can let Ken talk about those sweepers and how important they are for kids.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Mike. So I had the unique opportunity of being the general manager of Plaza Lanes here in Plymouth, Michigan, besides being a manager of another bowling lanes on the other side of town that Mike alluded to earlier, that we're going to start sweepers tomorrow night. But basically, the sweepers are a drop-in tournament. It's a competitive tournament where we lay out a different sport shot pattern every week for the bowlers to come and learn from, try their skills on. There's scholarship money that goes into their smart account if they're able to, get to the point where they place high enough to win some of the dollars that are available. And it's really become quite popular. I run a couple a week out of Plaza Lanes, and I'm going to be running one a week at Lakeshore Lanes out in St. Clair Shores here starting tomorrow night. And the word just really spread with that. And I started a Facebook page for each one of those sweeper tournaments. And the word has just gotten out to where these kids and some of them are adults as well. I run two divisions, a youth and adult. They just spread the word around, and they just show up, and they just can't wait to bowl these sweeper tournaments. It's really an exciting thing for them because you're learning how to bowl on sport shot patterns. And that's really what it's all about. If you go to junior gold tournaments, you have to learn the lanes. You can't just go throw your balls down there. You've got to learn the oil patterns, and that's what the sweeper tournaments are good for.
Yeah.
I think if you ask Brandon and Ken, because they bowl on a lot of the sweepers, they're in college right now bowling for their college. And I think you can ask them, guys, as the sweepers help you get ready for college and bowl well in college.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just like another form of practice for us, especially at like practice. We're not really scoring, and it's not exactly like a competitive environment. So I think when we go to these sweepers and we're able to get into match play, I think it's pretty good for us, especially like in the college environment when we're like versing other teams as well.
I think a big point also with the sweepers is that it's good to practice on different patterns that we wouldn't see otherwise. Because if we go to practice, just to open bowl and we're bowling on house shot, we're not learning too much to help us improve for college. So these sweepers really open our eyes to some of our not so good. Like if we're bowling on short patterns and we're not too good on short, it'll help us to improve.
Yeah. Just about everybody in bowling, ends up trying sport. If you're competitive somewhere, maybe it's junior gold, maybe it's a local tournament, maybe it's something else. But I feel like when you start trying sport, there's going to be an instance, and usually it's that first time where you kind of get smacked down back to earth, and you realize that this is a different kind of bowling, something that I'm not used to, and that can be discouraging for kids. So how do run a popular sports shot sweeper like this, and then keep the enthusiasm for kids who maybe haven't done so well to get them, trying more and improving on it?
Well, I'll tell you, we really don't have to try hard at all, because these young kids these days, these young bowlers, they've got the drive and the enthusiasm of wanting that challenge, and we don't even have to beg them to come out to bowl a sweeper. I guess, yeah, I could say it that way. They want to come out because they know the basics. They know that the pattern out there is not something that they're going to see on open bowling if they just go out open bowling with their family, and they're up for the challenge. Even 10, 11, 12-year-old kids. It's amazing how you see these young kids these days that want to be bowlers. Some of them are better. They have higher average than I do, to be honest with you. I've been bowling 40 years. So it's the drive that they already have from seeing their peers, and they just want to come out and try a challenge. It's a challenge to them. They love it.
Well, and here's another thing. Our sweepers help, but we've got some great associations for youth right now where they throw sport shot on all the time. We've got kids that are bowling sport shot in some of these associations that are 6, 7, 8 years old. Now, I'll give you an example. We've got the Michigan Junior Masters Association run by Jerry Tarabek and Dan Ottman, very famous bowler in Michigan, started the association. That is a tournament that's run, once a month or twice a month here in Michigan. And that's produced 24, I kid you not, 24 Team USA members over the years, including Andrew Anderson and Jordan Richard. They were part of the MJMAs. So the MJMAs puts blind patterns out. They don't tell you what the pattern is ahead of time. And so you got to bring, 6 or 9 balls with you and figure out at practice, how you're going to bowl those lane conditions. We've got the Great Lakes Junior Gold Tour run by Jeff Wirtz and his wife Sonia. They get all over the Midwest, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana. They do a great job. They also put sports shots out. And they have divisions just like the MJMA, U12, U15, U18, U20. So we have a lot of young kids that are bowling sports shot now. Out on the East Coast, like I mentioned, Billy Gasson used to run the Storm Mid-Atlantic Junior Bowlers Tour. That's still around. Billy is now the director of bowling for Recruit Us. That's run by Dennis Strohmeyer. And they put on tournaments. Billy put on some of the greatest tournaments out east that you'd ever bowl in for kids. The Teen Masters is out there, run by Gary Beck. And we had the opportunity to partner with him when it was at Thunderbolt here in Detroit over the summer. And Brandon bowled that. And Brandon, why don't you tell Fef, what that tournament consisted of?
So I believe it was 3 different squads, 6 games per squad, so 18 total. We had 1 day of a short pattern, 1 day of a long pattern, and I believe it was 1 day of both. Don't quote me on that though. But it was really tough out there, especially at Thunderbolt. That's a pretty tough house. So the gutters definitely hook a lot there. And I mean, only being limited to 1 ball definitely creates a pretty big challenge. Spares become a really big premium at tournaments like those. So if you're a really good spare shooter, that's definitely something that you should be into. I think it's definitely something that a lot of the young bowlers should try. I think it's something that really helps out with like both their mental and their physical game, because especially with a plastic ball, you can't get left. You have to be able to play right up the gutter, and also be able to slow down and speed up depending on the lengths of the pattern. So I think that's just such a great opportunity. And I just wanted to say about like the motivation for the younger kids. I mean, And my first ever tournament, I placed dead last, actually. And I think, I think that really motivated me. I think when those younger kids go out to these tournaments and they finish last place or close to that, I think a lot of the times they get really motivated to move up the podium, at least for me.
Yeah. We've got a few more comments here. Jay mentioned that his 15-year-old has 2 Pepsi State final third place finishes, a 193 average. Hopefully he stays with it and gets a college opportunity. Patrick says Danielle just said, "Hey, that's Mr. Yes Ball on TV." So thanks for watching. Jay also says he bowls a sport shot league also. So great to hear that his youngsters getting into the challenging part of bowling nice and early. Patrick says Danielle started bowling in Ken's sweepers when she was 11. She was sometimes the youngest girl bowling. That was Danielle
Martica.
Yeah.
Martica. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jay back to his. He averages in the low 170s in the sport shot league. So yeah, so that's a great start for those kids and a tremendous opportunity that like I alluded to, I never had growing up in juniors years ago. Michael, you mentioned that you're a bowler too, and although you kind of laughed it off a little bit, I'm wondering, does you being a bowler get Brandon into it and then result in all this yes ball stuff, or does Brandon get into it first and kind of teach you as he goes?
All right, so
I wish I could answer that.
I'll let
No.
All right, so let's just say, Pfeff, that I got into bowling after my son did, and he won't give me lessons. I'm so bad. He says, "You're hopeless, Dad." So I just bowl for fun. I have a great time. I have learned that it's a very difficult sport, and I didn't realize it before my son got into bowling. You have to be an athlete. I mean, these are athletes, and that's part of the reason why we started the site, because I don't think the general population that doesn't bowl, I should say, they have no idea that how good these kids are and how athletic they are. And a lot of these bowlers are multi-sport players, but you have to be a well-conditioned athlete. When I watch these guys bowl in college tournaments, they are standing up 9 or 10 hours nonstop. They can't sit down. And I never realized that, so I started going to these college tournaments. You have to be in very good condition to stand up for 9 or 10 hours a whole day.
Yeah.
And bowl several games over that 9-hour period. Frame after frame after frame. It's nonstop that whole 8 or 9 hours. It's unbelievable to watch these college kids bowl in these tournaments.
Yeah. And you have a different outlook on that when you're that age. It's just, this is what we do. We just do it. I mentioned the Peacocks Classic that's coming up. I recall last year just sitting there to stream it was taxing enough. And I'm thinking, gosh, I'm just sitting in a chair, yapping into a microphone. These ladies are, they're standing the whole time. They're competing and they're doing it really well. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for that part of it too. Good to see Trey on live. Wants to know how it's going today.
Hi, Trey. Yeah, Trey's a member. We love Trey.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good to see him on. I want to talk about the interviews because you had mentioned that before, and I've seen a number of them. Drake, I messaged him because, like you said, he's from Michigan, and I knew that he had been mentioned on your page before. When I asked him about the site and all that stuff, he says that even though the absolutely random interviews can come as a complete surprise to you, it definitely is heartwarming to see that he, meaning you, Michael, cares so much about the bowling community to record Q&A and get different insights on how they being the juniors, are doing both personally and in bowling. I mean, is the interview part of this kind of a labor of love for you, Michael?
Well, I'll tell you this, it's enjoyable. Kids like to be interviewed because it's such a niche sport and they don't get recognized. It's not like football or basketball or hockey or baseball. So when you interview a kid for bowling, it's pretty exciting for them because it may be the first time they've ever been interviewed for bowling. And but there are some people I've interviewed enough where they run away from me because, especially some girls, they don't want any part of more interviews. But for the most part, kids love the interviews. In fact, Junior Gold this year in Grand Rapids, Michigan, or last year, I should say, in the summer, we interviewed 238 yes ballers in one day outside the trade show. 238. I think that's a Guinness Book of World Record. I checked, and I think we're going to make that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kid you not. We have some great stories about that Junior Gold if you want to hear them.
So. Of course. Yeah, bring it on.
All right. So me and my buddy Ken here, we're driving to the trade show, and we see this truck in front of us. It's like 6 a.m. We have to get our cart set up. We have a cart because we were selling
our merchandise.
Some merchandise like what Ken Jr. has, his gold shirt. So we get there early, and we follow this truck into the parking garage. And outside, I could see the passenger, and he had a Norm Duke haircut, kind of. I go, gosh, that looks like Norm Duke. And I know he's going to be at the trade show. So follow that truck, Ken. Ken's driving. And so we follow that truck down the parking garage. And what happened?
Well, I actually felt like I was a stalker because they turned right, we turned right, they turned left, we turned left, followed them right into the back door of the parking garage where no cars were anywhere around. And I think we actually startled them a little bit because they pulled in and parked, and Mike said, go over here, loop around over there. They're parking right here. And I had to loop around, and we parked about, one row away from them, a couple spots away. And Norm got out, and Mike and I jumped out, and Mike had his camera in hand and almost rushed over to Norm Duke, and we really startled him because he wasn't sure who we were. There was no one in the parking garage but us. And once he introduced himself and said, we're with Yes Ball, because he's a member. Norm Duke's one of our members. But it didn't click with him right away. He's got his mind focused on other things, right? Finally, it clicked, and Mike was able to get an interview with him in the parking garage with no one around but us.
It was great, and he gave the best advice.
He did.
That interview we had reached, I think, over like 300,000 views. So what he said was, because I asked him, I said, Mr. Duke, what kind of advice are you going to give these kids at Junior Gold? And he came up with the best answer. He goes, I want you to look at every other bowler in the house that morning. They are as nervous as you are, or maybe even more nervous than you. So you have to keep that in the back of your head. Everybody's nervous. You're all in the same spot. And it was the best advice. And I think a lot of kids heard that. The driver of that truck was Chris Prather. So when we ran out going after Norm Duke, you can see in the interview, Norm Duke's like looking behind him. Well, Chris Prather was nowhere to be found. He probably
he left Norm.
Yeah, he left Norm. So anyway, the Norm's a great guy, great ambassador. So is Chris Prather. We were lucky. All the pro bowlers go to Junior Gold, most of them, for the kids. And they do a wonderful job. One of the things that we did for Junior Gold, and it's happened in Indianapolis, is we're getting our apparel out, our jerseys. We told every kid that had a jersey before Indianapolis to wear their Yes Ball jersey on the first day of competition, which was Monday. So we had 400 kids wearing jerseys on Monday in 6 different houses. And that's how we got the word out. So all these other kids are going, what is Yes Ball? And so the kids would tell them, Yes Ball is on Facebook, and it's a youth bowling site.
Yeah.
And we did the same thing in Grand Rapids last summer. We had all the kids wear the shirts on the Monday, first day of competition, to get the word out.
Yeah.
So we're not marketing experts, but we just come up with these ideas, and a lot of times they work.
No, but you sent me all these pictures, and kids are happy to be in the pictures, but they're also wearing, some of them anyway, are wearing the Yes Ball gear. Is that something that is available now, or is that just a temporary thing?
So we have our online store open once a month. It's actually closed today because they can't keep up with production. DO Apparel, so they're going to reopen up again in February. So we have it open at least once a month, and it'll stay open for a couple weeks.
Okay. All right. And I would assume that you're pretty on top of that as far as letting the group members know.
Yeah, we are. So
Yeah. Let me get to some of these comments too. Jay says some of these tournaments can be grueling. Yep, that's for sure. Ken Jr. got into bowling because both his parents were bowlers. Number one fan. Ken Jr. Do you know Christine?
Yes, that's my mom. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Then I hope you know her. I'm glad you claimed her. Patrick says that Danielle 12 and Joseph 10 get a huge boost when Mr. Yes Ball knows their name and interviews them before or after the tournament. Patrick says he sees that boost in all the kids he interviews. Jay wants to know, is Yes Ball a thing in California?
So we have a lot of California members. We're not as popular on the West Coast, I think, because of the time difference, and bowling isn't as popular. Although I will say this: a lot of bowling alleys shut down in California due to COVID.
Right.
I remember talking to Rhino Page one day, and he grew up, I think, in San Diego, and he was telling me that they used to have 12 bowling alleys or maybe 15 in San Diego, and now they only have maybe 8. But I gotta say this: Hawaii is a hotbed. We have a ton of yes ballers from Hawaii. There's a lot of bowling alleys that are on military bases there, and so when they're not being used by the military, a lot of local kids are learning how to bowl. And you would be shocked to see how many kids are coming over here from Hawaii to bowl in college and bowl in junior gold. I think they brought like over 100 kids to junior gold in Grand Rapids and Indianapolis from Hawaii. And that's a long way to travel.
Yeah.
And so it's extremely popular there. Unbelievable. And the great bowlers are coming out of there. We've got kids locally, local colleges like Lawrence Tech University and Rochester University. They're bringing these kids in from Hawaii, and they're unbelievable.
Yeah. You've, as I said in the beginning, this is kind of a platform for those aspiring college bowlers to get some exposure, to, have college coaches see them and what they're doing and hopefully get them to the next level. Tell me about some of those success stories. And I know success is going to be different depending on the person. Sometimes success is bowling really well as a junior. Sometimes it's getting into college. Sometimes it's going pro after that. But I'm sure, there have been a number that have at least had some involvement with yes ball, right?
Well, every time I'm at junior gold, and I've been to the last 4 of them, the junior gold was canceled, I think, in 2020 with COVID, and it was supposed to be in Las Vegas. But all the other junior golds I've been to, we have parents come up to us. Maybe I've had at every junior gold, maybe 7 to 10 parents come up to us and they thank us. And they say, look, we want to thank you. And I go, why? And they go, well, you exposed our daughter from Waterloo, Iowa. Now, Waterloo, Iowa, no one's ever, it's a small town. But she won some big tournament. You put her on the cover. The next day, she got calls from 3 different college coaches offering her a scholarship. And we get that all the time. And that's, probably why we do this, is to get kids exposed. We don't make any money off of this. We do it because we love it. And when we have parents come up to us to thank us, because they're kids that are in very rural areas, but for some reason, I got a newspaper clipping or a media story about them, and I posted it. Once it gets posted on Yes Ball, it's a big deal because we have over 200 college coaches and assistant coaches that are on our site that are members. So they are on our site almost on a daily basis trying to find bowling talent in the United States. And so it's not just the United States. We have probably kids from 48 different countries on our site last time I checked. So
that's incredible. And you mentioned the kids. What about the coaches? I mean, you said that they're there. Do you ever have direct contact with those college coaches?
Yeah, we do all. Yeah, we do all the time. I interview the college coaches. We joke with them. I see the same guys at all the youth tournaments that we used to go to. So I know all the coaches. They've been very good to us. They helped get the word out.
Yeah, we've almost become like a go-between between the coaches and the bowlers. You know, Mike does most of the interviews, of course, and he interviews the bowlers, but then he also gets to meet the coaches as well. And he's almost a go-between. The coaches will ask him, "Hey, how about this guy? Did you see that girl or whatever?" And it's the platform, and like we said earlier, started small, but it's almost like a snowball effect now. It's just rolling downhill, gaining momentum, and there's more bowlers, more coaches, and it's just getting larger and larger. I don't think there's any end in sight, to be honest with you.
So I get a lot of texts from coaches asking me if I know any bowlers in their area, or if I know any good bowlers that they'd be interested in talking with. So I've connected a lot of the kids with bowling coaches, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I tell kids, you know, you got to look at, you want to go visit the campuses. You just don't want to commit to somewhere. You need to go visit the campus, but more importantly, if you're going to go to college and bowl, you want to make sure you're going to get your education first. You know, bowling's a conduit to college, and you'll get some scholarship money. But the most important thing is you want to go to a college that's a good fit for you for educational purposes. If you want to be a nurse and you're going to a college to bowl and they don't offer a nursing program, well, that's not a good idea, you know. And so that's the first thing we emphasize with kids. Do good in school, because your grades in high school are terribly important. Mm-hmm. There's only, you know, for a girl, if you're a really good girl bowler, you know, a college coach might be able to offer you a full ride if you're really, really good. Mm-hmm. If you're a good bowler, not the best, but a good bowler, then a college coach can offer you, you know, some money for bowling, but academically they can throw more money on top of that and maybe cover some room and board. It's a little different for a boy. And so, you know, because of Title IX, you know, the college coaches can't really offer that much scholarship to boys as they can for girls. So I emphasize to boys, if they want to bowl in college, they got to make sure their grades are stellar in high school, because, you know, they might get some money for bowling for scholarship, but they'll get more money academically if their grades are good. So you can, you know, stack those scholarships, like a bowling scholarship, you can stack an academic scholarship on top of that, and that's going to really help you as a boy. Yeah. So it's very important to do good in school.
For sure. Yeah, great message. Brandon, Ken Jr., I want to know what your teammates and other folks around that bowling community at Madonna think of the site, think of your dad's involvement in all this. What's the word around there?
I mean, I think everybody is pretty happy. I think especially our teammates. I mean, I think they enjoy it. I mean, I think they definitely enjoy the interviews at tournaments and like all the cheers that we get when we're doing good. I think it's pretty important as well. I think it like helps keep people motivated as well and keeps people interested in the sport as well. With the interviews, I think sometimes college bowlers can lose like passion for bowling, but I think Yes Ball, my dad, really helps keep people uplifted and are ready to bowl at all times.
Yeah, one thing is for sure, everyone knows, everyone on our team, I should say, knows what Yes Ball is. They know our involvement with Yes Ball and just how big it is. Some of the guys don't care for it as much. They don't care for the interviews as much. You know, on the other hand, the guys love the interviews. So,
yeah, it's, I mean, you know, you get a crowd of bowlers and you're going to get all kinds, but you know, in the end, yeah, that's pretty cool that you know, that you've got that reputation going at the school and all that. You know, and Drake kind of echoed some of that. He said that, you know, Michael, you're a great guy with great intentions, with just wanting all of us bowlers, not only in our Michigan area, but around the US and the world, to be successful in their own way. You know, you get people who grew up in Michigan and go on to a big university like that. Do you stay in touch with them, with people like Drake and maybe some of the other folks that you've kind of seen go up through the ranks and then leave for, you know, for a college to bowl on a great program?
We do. You know, most of the members are friends of mine, so on Facebook, so that's how I stay in touch with everybody. And it's a great thing. I gotta say that, you know, with bowling, there's a lot of really good sportsmanship. You know, as parents, you know, and our kids would bowl each other all the time in championship matches. And we always are rooting for our kids deep down inside. We got to beat that kid. Come on, you can beat this kid. But, deep down, everyone's a good sport. I got to say that bowling parents are really good sports. I mean, you get a few bad apples, but, so if Ken beats my kid in a championship match and they've gone against each other a number of times, you know what? I tell my kid, you get him next time, and I congratulate Ken. And that's how most parents are. I also think that the sportsmanship in youth bowling is incredible. I didn't realize that. Kids, slap each other's hands when they throw a good shot. And even with adults in adult leagues, I think one of the problems we have in our country is that a lot of bowling proprietors are not putting or bringing in youth programs, or they used to have youth programs and they don't have them anymore. And I think they're hurting themselves because, without youth programs, you're not going to have leagues 20 or 30 years from now, because all the leagues in some of our houses in Michigan, the people that bowl in those leagues are over 40, 50 years old. And you don't have a lot of young adults bowling those leagues. So I think it's really important that we have to get youth bowling back on track. It was the fastest growing high school sport before COVID hit, believe it or not, youth bowling. You don't have to be 250 pounds to throw a bowling ball. You can be 98 pounds and throw a bowling ball. It's a great sport. Anybody can do it. We have handicapped kids that do it. It's incredible. Anybody can bowl. Yeah. You just have to practice, really.
Mm-hmm. I noticed on the site, and this may be just a function of, hey, we're going to call them this, but for the most part, you have yes ballers that are yes ball members, but every so often you get a yes ball superstar, a yes ball legend, a yes ball coach. Is there any difference or criteria there, or is that just something that you write?
Well, if I know it's a coach, then I'll put coach down. If it's like a birthday, I'll say happy birthday, yes ball coach, so and so. If a really good bowler is a kid's birthday, I'll put happy birthday, yes ball legend, and then their name. There's some kids out there that I've missed, I'm sure. With 7,000 members almost, it's tough. I'm an old man, so it's hard for me to keep track of everything. But it is great. I mean, we know so many kids just from outside the state of Michigan, because we met all these kids at Junior Gold or other tournaments. And I felt. Let me give you an idea real quick, because we probably don't have a lot of time, but we got some great pros on our site, like Oscar Palermo. Dasha Korolova is a yes baller. Packy Hammerhand, Kyle True. Andrew Anderson was one of our first yes ball pro.
Yes, he was.
Shout out to Andrew, baby.
Yes.
Tom Doherty, Amanda Vermilia, Lita Sill, Cheryl Daniels, Adam Barta, Danny Wiseman, Michelle Mullen, Charles Brown II. I mean, those are all pros on our site. We've got some great collegiate stars on our site. Spencer Robarge. I mean, who doesn't know who Spencer Robarge is? He was one of the first, youth bowlers that gave our site legitimacy.
Yeah.
Having him on there. Carolyn Pfizer, Anna Kalin, the Bone Brothers, Petey Virgos, Drake Bazzy. I mean, I got a list of people here. I could go on and on. We got some great youth bowlers too. Taylor Kretz out of Erie, Pennsylvania. She's like 14 years old. She's a two-hander bowler. She's one of the best bowlers you will ever see out there. Spiral Shank, John Nunn, Morgan Bruner, Jacob Johnson, Elisa O'Brien, Melanie Straub, the Pranger brothers, the Shaberg brothers. I mean, we know all the great youth bowlers across the country, and we are lucky.
Yeah, and these are some names that I think down the road you're going to hear again and again, because there's a great future ahead for some of those names that he just listed there, because our kids have bowled with these kids for the last few years, and we see some of the accomplishments that they have going on right now, and it's just incredible how well these bowlers are doing after they've left their youth divisions and they're moving into more of some of the adult things that are going on.
Yeah,
no end in sight.
I mean, Tom Clark's a member, the PBA commissioner, Steve Jacobs, who's one of the best bowling coaches in the country, is on our site. The late, great Mo Pinnell was a yes baller. Mm-hmm. And so I asked Mo, I said, Mo, how do you like our site? And his, I'm quoting him, this is what he thought about our site. It serves a purpose.
For Mo.
So gotta love Mo. You know, Mo let us put his videos on all the time. He had that show on, if you remember, and he would let us post his videos on there about bowling balls and how to drill them and you know what type of balls are going to react on certain lane conditions. So he really helped us in the beginning, and we can't thank Mo enough.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jay mentioned that they're in a small town. They have 8 houses within a 30-mile radius. That's got to be pretty rare.
Yes.
He said they've done a few junior amateur tour events. It's not cheap to do those events, though. Yep, that's true. Bowling can be sneaky expensive, but a lot of sports are. That's for sure.
That's what's great about our site.
Yeah,
we showcase a lot of kids that bowl in the SYCs, and some of those kids bowl in all these SYCs, and they flying all over the country to bowl these once a month. We expose those kids, but we also expose kids that you've never heard about from Fairbanks, Alaska, or from Hawaii, or from Denton, Texas. Kids that maybe they live in a very rural area that are great bowlers, or they don't have the finances to go to a lot of these big tournaments for kids. We showcase those kids too. And I think that's what makes our site great, because we'll have kids on there no one's ever heard about, but once they figured out their names and seen their bowling accomplishments, the next thing you know, college coaches are contacting them. So that's what's great about our site. We got kids that nobody's heard of before, and we've got kids that are in the upper echelon that everyone's heard of before, and we just kind of mash them together, and it's great.
That is cool. I do want to take an opportunity to just remind people that, being a Yes Ball member doesn't cost anything. It's free to be there, just like, subscribing to this channel is free. I mention it every show. We're on a race to 1,000 subscribers, so please subscribe. You can hit that little logo on the bottom right. Get subscribed. Find out, first when we have new videos, new live events, and all that good stuff. And thank you to those who have subscribed already. But tell me, I was, really intrigued by what you said about junior bowling, and and Sam says amen. And I think she was, she mentioned that right after you kind of said that. And maybe Brandon and Ken Jr., maybe you can kind of give us a feel for, what junior bowling is like and what it was like for you guys, to have success in junior programs now, because us older folks, we remember when, junior bowling packed the house. And, we think to ourselves, gosh, it just doesn't seem like it's like that anymore. But, by listening to what Michael just said, it certainly sounds like it.
I think a big point with junior bowling that I had growing up is it seemed like all of us juniors, we all were friends. Everyone knew each other and everyone was comfortable with talking with one another. I think it was just a great atmosphere, a great environment to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think it also really depends like what house you're bowling at. Because I mean, the league that me and Ken grew up at Woodland, I mean, that was a full house league. I believe it still is. I'm not 100% sure, but we filled all 40 lanes. We also bowled a Sunday league that would travel to different houses. That league, when we bowled it, that was a full house league as well. I think if you look hard enough, I think you're able to find leagues and opportunities in junior bowling that are really important still.
Yeah, for sure. Ken Sr., you mentioned that, this is kind of an ongoing thing. I don't see an end in sight. We're just going to keep going and going. Michael, let us know about how it is for you to keep feeding the beast, to keep posting content, because I think, and I belong to a lot of, bowling groups on Facebook and bowling pages and stuff. You guys are posting constantly. How many times would you say you post a day?
Oh, on a good day, maybe 100 posts a day.
Oh my gosh.
So our viewership, so even, like you said, it's free. You don't even have to be a member to look at our site. On popular days, we'd have 100,000 views on some popular days. We get about anywhere from 5 to 10,000 views a day, which is pretty good, I think, for bowling.
Yeah.
And so I got to spend about 2-3 hours a day doing it in the morning. I do it really early in the morning. I don't get much sleep. I think people get mad though, but I can't do it any other time. But, people are always complaining. I hear these, bings at like 5 in the morning. I go, well, I'm sorry. Put on silence,
Right. Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, Pfaff,
Yeah.
I'll give you an idea of how big Yes Ball is. I was looking at the Team USA tournament going on right now in Vegas, and I was looking. I just pulled the girls or the women's stat sheets. There's 149 women and girls bowling the team trials in Vegas, and of those 149, we have 65 Yes Ballers. I checked.
Wow.
And I'm proud to say that we've got Jillian Martin, one of the best bowlers in the country. She's leading the tournament right now after day one, and she's a Yes Baller, baby. I love that.
Yeah.
Abigail Starkey, she's like 14 years old. She's in 6th place. Juliana Kerrigan's a Yes Baller. She's in 10th place. Katarina Hagler is in 11th place. She threw a 287 game today. She's like 14 years old. These young kids are unbelievable bowlers. On the men's side, which is starting later today, 4 p.m. over there in Vegas, we've got 70 Yes Ballers out of 172 men bowlers bowling.
Wow. So
we almost have half a field of those bowlers. They're all Yes Ballers. Think about that. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
That's that snowball I alluded to earlier. It's just only going to get bigger. There's no way to stop it, really.
Yeah.
And a shout out to Ian Kane, who's out there bowling right now. He bowled with our kids, and he's one of the first ones that came out with Yes Ball as he threw his ball down the lane and it struck. So we'll give him credit for that.
Yeah.
And my oldest kid came up with the logo. I think it's a good logo. You read it, it says what it is. I got to make sure. My kid keeps calling me. He goes, Dad, where are my royalties? I said, you know what? Don't call me again. Anyway, we have a great time with Yes Ball. I mean, me and Ken travel and go to tournaments, and we're blessed. Our kids are good kids, are great bowlers, and we get to watch them bowl in college. We got to watch them bowl in youth league. They came out of one of the best youth leagues in the country. Woodland Lanes, ran by Charles Kane, who's the head coach of Siena Heights in college right now. He was in charge of that youth league. It's in Livonia, Michigan, and he retired. And so Tom Colosimo and Derek Jasper and Renee Hall run it. It's one of the best Saturday morning leagues ever. We had kids out of there that were all state bowlers, like 20 kids the same age bracket. They were champions in this and that, and they just all bowled together. And when you have kids that are really good, it makes them better because they're competing with each other all the time. So, that's what you need. You need a really good house that's going to cater to kids. Woodland Lanes caters to kids. Mm-hmm. They'll put a pattern. If you go in there and they say, look, can you put a pattern out for us? We want to bowl on the sports shot. They do it in a heartbeat. No questions asked. You go to some houses and they say, get out of here. We're not going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. That is absolutely huge. I like this. Patrick says, if it wasn't for Yes Ball, I am not sure how much my kids would have gotten into youth bowling. We had no idea how big youth bowling was until Yes Ball showed us. That's got to feel pretty good.
The check's in the mail, Patrick.
For sure.
His kids are great. His kids are great bowlers.
Yeah, they're great.
They're great ambassadors. They wear Yes Ball stuff all the time, and they're very young and they're progressing. And that's the thing. If these kids, once they get the bowling fever, they want to get better and better and better, and they want to practice and And I tell you what, these tournaments are the best. These kids live for tournaments.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, not only that, going back to what Mike said real quick about the youth bowling the youth bowling league at Woodland. It's called the Woodland Rangers, and like he said, they'd fill the house of 40 lanes. And I always used to tell Mike, sitting in there with him watching our kids bowl Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, and they actually turn the lanes on early for them to come in and practice. You've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, up to 14-year-old kids on a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they are in there bright and early, ready to bowl. It was amazing for me to see 100 kids in there under the age of 14 wanting to bowl on a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. They're so motivated. They love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jay wants to know how he says, post a link to Yes Ball site, please. So the site is on Facebook. So you go to Facebook and you can search Yes Ball. Is there a custom URL, or is it just what Facebook?
No, yeah, just search Yes Ball. You can go on Google and search Yes Ball, and it'll take you right to the Facebook site. So
yeah, there you go, and that's what it looks like. Tell me who knocked me off the cover photo here.
So the team trials are today and this week, and so that thumb is a Caitlin Cavender's thumb. She got her athlete pass, so I wanted to put the athlete's pass on the cover today, and we got her beautiful thumb. She's a great bowler out of St. Mary's in college. And actually, she's done really well so far in day one. Let's see where she's at. She was in the top 50, I think. Yeah, she's in 38th place. So she's having a great day one at the team trials.
Yeah.
So.
She was also the all-tournament MVP at the first Peacocks Classic last year. Jay Santos, Fef has the best logo in my opinion. I can't disagree with you. I
was going to put my face on our logo, but then we scare everybody away. So
no, I think we do okay, and credit to Chip Magnet. They're the ones who gave me the logo. All right, so at the end of every show, we go off the sheet by asking you to challenge somebody to be on a future episode. Doesn't have to be the greatest bowler in the world, but someone who's passionate about the sport, has a unique story to tell. So we're going to go off the sheet 4 times because there's 4 of you. Michael, I want to start with you. Who would you like to see on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
Wow. I'd like to see, you know what? Jerry Tarabeck from the Michigan Junior Master Association. He's done so much to help kids get scholarships with his tour. He's based out of Michigan and Grand Rapids. He would be a great guest. He's got some great stories. So,
okay. Ken Senior.
Well, I'm glad he didn't steal my my idea that I had thought of that he mentioned earlier. Cheryl Daniels, a Hall of Fame bowler back in the late 70s, early 80s. She was with the pro shop owner at one of the bowling alleys I managed here locally in Novi that's recently closed due to COVID mostly. And she's moved on and has her own pro shop at another alley nearby. I'd love to have Cheryl come on. The story she could tell, I've talked to her a lot. When I used to work up there at Novi Bowl, and I'd go down to her pro shop and talk to her. Lots of stories to tell, a lot of tournament wins that she had. She's a great ambassador to bowling, so I'd love to see her come on.
She's awesome. She won the U.S. Open. She's tremendous.
Yeah, she's awesome. Very nice lady, too.
One of the best ball drillers in the country, too.
Oh, okay. All right. Brandon and Ken Jr., you're up. Who'd you like to see?
I'm going to say Jeffrey Lazewski, longtime friend of mine and Brandon's, multiple state champion, bowler of the year, I want to say, MJMA champion. I believe he runs the pro shop at Bowl IQ, the Bowler's Mart Pro Shop. Just a great guy.
Okay. Brandon?
And then I'm going to say Shane Cannell. He's a good friend of Drake. Shane and Drake actually teamed up for the trios tournament that I think we finished in second. I think Shane is a really great bowler. I mean, he shoots 800 almost every week, and he's also a mechanic. So I think he can provide a lot of insight for newbies to the sport and also get people interested.
Awesome.
You know what? As an alternate, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Fef, but no. Jacob Johnson and Chris Castro, they both run pro shops. Jacob was the high school bowler of the year in the state of Michigan. Chris Castro used to be on the PBA tour. They work together. Chris has got some great stories, so that's another. Those are another tandem that you might want to consider.
Yeah, no, I love all those ideas. If you heard your name mentioned here, you can find me on Facebook. My name is Andrew Pfeffer, or email bowlingwiththepfeff@yahoo.com. And we will make that happen. Jay mentions his pro shop is Bowl IQ affiliated as well. So there you go. Let me tell you about my next show, because we're actually skipping a week. I'll be live at the Chippewa Valley Match Games this Sunday. So there won't be a show this next week, but then the week after, on January 18th at 7 p.m., we're going to have the Backwards Bowler on. His name is Jim Cripps, and if you follow social media at all, you know that Mr. Cripps threw a 300 backwards. So we're going to talk to him about how he started bowling that way, what it was like to shoot 300, and all the other stuff that comes with it. Coming up a week from Wednesday, 2 weeks from Wednesday, January 18th, 7 p.m. Don't miss that one. But guys, I really appreciate all you coming on. Thank you so much for coming on, and continued success with Yes Ball. It's an awesome Facebook page. If you haven't seen it before, search Yes Ball and find it. And Michael and company, like I said, really appreciate what you do and the time tonight for sure.
We'd like to thank you again for this opportunity, and go Yes Ball Nation. Let's go.
Yeah, thank you, Pep. Appreciate it.
Indeed. Thank you guys. No, having you guys has been a blast. Thank you, and thank all of you for watching. As always, be just and fear not through the week ahead. Hope to see you on Sunday for live competition at the Chippewa Valley Match Games. Until then, have a great night.